Welcome back to Interview with the Blues. This is part 2 of my interview with Boston-based blues musician Peter Parcek. Now let's get it started. So you released Mississippi Suitcase.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting that you have, out of 11 songs
Yes.
in this album, you only have 2 originals.
Yes.
And the rest are all covers. But, I mean, what I find really interesting about the covers is they're all over the spectrum.
Yes.
I mean, you got people that most people, unless they're heavily into the blues and the old guys, are not going to know who they are.
Right.
Okay. You've got Peter Green. So you go to the British side.
Yeah.
But then you delve into the folk side with Bob Dylan.
Yep. Right.
Okay. And then you got the Beatles back over the British side, but you're doing it on the rock and roll.
Right. Right.
And then you come back to New York City, you got Lou Reed.
Right. Right.
And that's quite a conglomerate.
It's quite a juxtaposition, right? It's
Yeah.
whacked. I know it's whacked. I have been criticized for it. Some people love it. Some people get it and they love it. Some people are like, I don't hear any blues.
What I really love is the blues songs that you pick. Like the Sonny Boy Williamson song that you do.
Yeah.
Nobody's played that before.
And that's, even though that's a Sonny Boy song, that harkens right back to the Skip James anecdote, because it's, in its way, it's quietly very filthy.
Okay.
If you pay attention to the lyric, it's actually quite a
Yes.
naughty song.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy, what's his name? Pleasant Joseph, otherwise known as
I love him. Yeah. Cousin Joe, Pleasant
Yeah.
Joseph.
That's an interesting song.
Yeah. I was introduced to his music by David Herwalt. And I love it because his songs have wisdom and humor and a kind of slyness about them.
Okay.
I particularly love the verse about reincarnation. Although I happen to believe in reincarnation, for the purposes of singing this song, I played the role and said that I didn't believe in it. It's a very cool perspective he has.
And then another artist that you have on the album, Frankie Lee Sims.
Love Frankie Lee Sims.
Never heard of the guy.
Lucy May Blues, that's another
Yeah.
amazing one. We were going to either do Lucy May Blues or this one, but I've been doing it as a vocal, and then one day we were practicing it, and it's such, just the feeling of the song is just so good. It's so uplifting, and the melody's so cool. You know, I think it Louis Jordan did a very sophisticated version of this, but this is sort of the raw, you know, sibling of it. And I kind of like the rawness of it. And it's just a great melody anyway, you know. And the band, I mean, I have a great band on the record, so you know, it was really a pleasure to play that with them.
How did you decide to do Lou Reed?
Okay, so let's go back to that. This is an excellent question. No, it's actually an excellent question. The Lou Reed song actually was done in Nashville with Marco producing. And we brought it to fame, and Spooner Oldham's on it playing keyboard. There were a couple reasons why it didn't make Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven. One reason was I wasn't happy with my vocal. I felt like I could do it better. But another reason was a much more serious one, which was that I didn't want people to think I was endorsing or kind of giving the thumbs up to that lifestyle that's depicted in the song. I cast it as a blues for a reason. I feel like there's a lot of pain and suffering in that song. And Marco had actually suggested doing the track. So as we were assembling and working on songs for Mississippi Suitcase, I said to Ducky Carlisle, who produced the record with me, I said, I'm thinking about putting this on, but I'd have to redo the vocal, and I'm still not sure about it. And he listened to it again and he said, you've got to put it on. I think it's a great version and different enough. You know, the focus of it is different enough. So we redid the vocal and he remixed it. We changed a few things and in my guitar stuff. And but I mean, the basic thrust of it is exactly as it had been in Nashville, just better sung. And we actually paired some of the guitar stuff back.
On Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven,
Yes,
you actually have the song Mississippi Suitcase.
correct. But it's a completely different song.
Right. And if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong here, but
No,
on Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven, the song is an instrumental.
that's correct.
You have vocals on The Slight Return
Right.
on Mississippi Suitcase.
Yeah, it's a completely different song.
Okay.
What it was is that I fell in love with the story that led to the title. And so as I was writing this instrumental, which was really kind of like a chase instrumental from a movie, and then I call it Mississippi Suitcase, you know, because it works. But then when I went to really write the song with the lyric, which directly related to the story that inspired it, I realized it needed different music, more Albert King kind of music. Because the story is that I was going to Memphis for something and got in a cab, and the cab driver was very loquacious and very entertaining. And he told me stories about his life. And then he told me a story about how he left his wife. And he said, I knew it wasn't going to work. And I wanted to go be near my children, or one of my children. And he said, I told her, you know, you can have the car, you can have the house. He said, I'll take the other car. I went up to the bedroom, he said, and I put all my clothes and stuff in a couple of Mississippi suitcases, brought them down, threw them in my car, and drove out of there. And he looked at me in the mirror, and he could see that there was kind of a blank look on my face about the term Mississippi Suitcase. He said, oh, yeah, you're Northern, right? You don't know what the heck I'm even talking about. So, yeah, well, what is it? He said, you know, a green hefty bag? Same thing. So, you know, I found that kind of charming, and you know, I called an instrumental that, but then I thought maybe I should write a song around that theme. You know, if something that goes wrong, it goes sideways. And as the hook line, you know, I'm going to pack my Mississippi suitcase. You and I are through, you know,
Okay.
to have and to hold in sickness and health, for richer or poorer. We're just kidding ourselves, you know. But that needed a different track to sing over. The other one's more like a chase scene in a movie. It's pretty frenetic. I wanted something I, you know, could actually kind of chant the lyric over. I love Albert King, and it was kind of an homage to those Stax, maybe a little more rocked out, but definitely an homage to some of those Stax tracks like Cold Feet and Oh Pretty Woman and stuff, you know.
Okay. Peter, I understand you have quite a selection of guitars.
I used to have a lot more. I sold half of them when we moved, and I'm actually in the process of selling a lot right now. But yes, I did at one time, but I'm actually I am having to unfortunately divest myself for economic reasons. It's sad, but it's how it is. But I do have some nice stuff, but I don't have anything really vintagey anymore,
Mhm.
except for my harmony.
I was going to ask, do you decide like when you're doing a certain song, you say, hey, I'm going to use that guitar versus that other guitar?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that's true, yes. And because I've been lucky and blessed to work with great engineers and great producers, a lot of times there'll be great amplifiers at the place that we're recording.
mhm,
And so it usually works well for me to almost always bring the harmony for slide or for certain things, because I have a Stratotone from the 50s, and it basically nothing sounds like that I own except for that. Um, and then try to have at least one guitar with P90s on it, whether that's a Telly Jr. or a Les Paul Jr. I love the P90 sound for lots of reasons. Freddie King on down, just early Freddie King. I love that. And then Tellys and Stratocasters of various stripes. They may not all say Fender on them, but I love Stratocasters and Telecasters. Um, I have a really nice 335. Unfortunately, I probably am going to have to sell it. I don't have any Les Pauls left. I've sold, other than one Les Paul Jr., I've sold the ones that I had. And I have a bunch of amplifiers, and some of those are going to have to go too, unfortunately. But still love my Tweed amps and my Top Hat amps and Sword amps and so forth. But yeah, at one point I had a lot more gear than I have now, but it's just the way of life.
right. When you're writing your original music, what
Mm.
comes first for you, the lyrics or the melody?
Inspiration comes first. Seriously. It starts there with the inspiration. And so where it, like this happened today, actually, because a friend of mine lent me a guitar. It's a very lovely guitar that he actually put together out of parts.
Mm.
And it's a really nice instrument, and it led me to actually write a song and record it today. Because the guitar itself kind of sparked the inspiration. That's a really interesting question you asked me, because it's more complicated even than I thought it was, the answer to it. Because sometimes I have a lyric and I may have it for a long time and I may work on it, different drafts of it, but I don't have the right setting for it, the right frame, if you will, to put it in musically.
Mhm.
So it might sit for a while and I just keep working on it. I have right now, I think 12 things that I'm in various stages of demoing for what I hope will be a new record. And probably 8 of those are original and 4 are covers. And some of them are lyrics that have been around for a little while, but I didn't have the right framework for them. And I've just been finding the frameworks. It's part of how I've been using the time. Get better as a musician, get better as a writer, get better as a singer. I mean, it's trying to make positive use of this,
Right,
this
right. COVID.
time in the pandemic. Yeah, so
Um,
but that's a great question. It's complicated though,
okay.
because for certain things it'll definitely be the poetry, the lyric, and or just the idea. And other things it will be like with Mississippi Suitcase, it was the story Mississippi Suitcase Slight Return. It was the story, but I didn't have the right frame for it. Then it was Albert King kind of style groove. But I had to tell the story in a way that fit into that frame. But that's just one example. That's
when you're working on your songs,
yeah.
and you have it down to the point where you're ready to share it with the band members.
Mm.
Do you send them the songs to add their parts, or do you guys all get together and rehearse and then just hit the studio and record?
What we've done in the last couple of records, and certainly with this latest record, is as much as I can, I demo the songs here in GarageBand, just simple format. I do not play bass on them. I used to do that, and that was a mistake. I'm not a good enough bass player to do that. So I get a cool loop, a drum loop, and I use that as the basis for where it's going to go in terms of the groove and the tempo. And then probably do multiple guitars. And if it's a vocal song, the vocal. And then I send that to the band. So it'll be like a rough demo. The loop is just meant as a suggestion to the drummer. It's not in any way meant to be, because the drummers I'm lucky to play with are far better than the loops I can send them. You know what I mean? So, and the bass players are way too good for me to even send them bass parts. So, but I just try to send them basically the template. Let's put it that way. The template for how this might sound. And then what's really exciting is, of course, we did this pre-pandemic, get into a rehearsal room and see what happens. And like on this latest record, the drummer on most of the record is a young guy named Tim Carmen. He plays in a band called GA20, and he also has his own records. He has so many cool ideas. Like, he'll take an idea from the demo, and he'll play that, but then he'll come up with a couple other ones. Like, what if we did it like this? Or want to try it like this? Like, we'll try it. Like, we had 3 different versions of The World is Upside Down. We had one that was like Down in the Bottom by Howling Wolf. And similarly with the bassist, Mark, he's so good that, you know, he'll just use it as a jumping off point. Like when we were doing Eleanor Rigby, you know, we talked about there'd probably be a very spare arrangement. You know, it'd just be like guitar, bass, and drums and organ. You know, it's not going to have strings. It's not going to have, you know, we're not going to try to recreate, you know, the fullness of the Beatle version. But what's so amazing about him is he knows the string parts. He knows like the other parts from the record. So he would reference those. He would put those in, you know, in really poignant parts of the tune. You have to kind of know to know when you're hearing it, but it's, so yeah, I'm lucky. I get to play with really great people. So it kind of comes to life in the rehearsal. And then it comes to life even more when we're recording it. Because then you have the producer, or in Ducky's case, the producer engineer giving input. And he is great with drummers. He's also great with guitar tone. But he's a drummer, so he's great with drummers. He'll be like, yeah, let's try this snare. You know, what if we did X, you know? But it's all in an atmosphere of respect. It's never like somebody talking down. It's like, we are going to make this better, and here's how we're going to do it. we're all going for great. And nobody's like, yeah. It's like, what can we do to make this great? So, but yeah, what the rehearsals are where it really starts to gel.
So let me ask you this. What makes you happy?
You mean besides music?
Yes.
Um, when I see peace, it makes me happy. When I see people treating each other respectfully, it makes me happy. What would make me really happy is if we in our society could somehow find a way to be gentler with each other and agree to disagree, but not to the point where people get hurt, not to the point where there are conspiracy theories that hurt everybody involved. Or my cat makes me really happy. I love cats.
Cool.
My wife makes me happy.
What kind of cat do you have?
He's a Siamese snowshoe. He's brilliant. He's a bit of a music critic.
How so?
I was practicing Django one day, and he was sitting right by me. And the look on his face, I swear, Greg, the look was, dude, I already did that in another life.
What is your favorite curse word?
Oh, gee. Stupid sheku bafangu.
I like that. That's Sicilian. When you're on tour
Yes.
and you have a couple days between gigs, maybe one,
Yes.
two, what is your favorite thing to do?
Depends on where it is. London, the museums are unbelievable. The architecture is unbelievable. The parks are unbelievable. Paris, the architecture is unbelievable, and the gypsy music is unbelievable. Food is pretty darn good too. It just depends on where it is.
What does Peter Parcek have planned for the rest of 2021 now that things are beginning to open up a little bit? Do you have any plans on touring?
Oh, I do. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to continue writing and demoing tracks for a new record, and already discussing with a couple of people, just kind of feeling out whether I might want to work with them if I can afford it. But yes, I'm very hopeful that at least domestically, I'll be able to tour. I'm hoping to see you in October, as long as things don't go sideways or backwards. I had hoped to go to Europe, but it's not looking as good as it was. It may have to be put off to 2022 for that. Doesn't sound like the vaccine thing is rolling out the way they had hoped in some of the countries. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to get to go to Europe. I wish I would, but domestically, yes, I'm very hopeful that I will get to tour and also get to go back to playing, the Northeast as well. And it seems like this record has opened up some doors and some avenues for me. So gonna try to bring that music out before I get too old, to do it at the level I want to do it.
Where can our viewers find more information about you and your music, Peter?
I would hope that they might go to my website, which is www.peterparcekband.com. And Parcek is a weird one. It's Parcek. So peterparcekband.com. And I have a respectable presence on Facebook and Twitter. Just started, I know I'm way behind the times, but just started getting into Instagram haven't really figured out how to do much on that yet, except post video. But yeah, the Facebook thing I've had some good luck with. Have a nice group of people that seem to interact on almost on a daily basis on there, because I usually post music, post a lot of times lessons, or not lessons by me, but like blues guitar lessons, or birthday tributes, basically, to great artists, which is one small way of giving back
I
in my
find
case.
that very interesting that almost every day
Yeah,
they're posting about all kinds, not just blues artists, but
right.
all kinds of blues artists that are having birthdays on that day. I find that very
Well, it's
interesting.
actually it's overwhelming how many great artists every day have been born.
Yeah.
And it just struck me at one point that there's only so much to say about oneself. You know what I mean? It seems much better to point at giants that have influenced the course of the music and to whom we are all indebted. So I'm just trying to kind of point there, and when I've got something, good to share about me, I definitely do it. And people are really nice about it. But, there's so much music that's inspiring, and so many people that I have learned from, continue to learn from, and not everybody knows who they are. So it's kind of nice to say, hey, here's Hop Wilson, or, whoever it may be. And it's pretty cool the way people react. And it's shocking to me. I mean, in a great way. Like, there'll be people who come back and they'll be like, I played with him. Or that's my uncle. That's my aunt. It's like amazing stuff. Um, and I'm just paying tribute to him. That's it in a nutshell. Trying to do good, a little good, make up for all the stuff I did wrong.
Well, Peter, I want to thank you very much for taking the time tonight to stop by Interview with the Blues and chat
Thank you,
with me.
brother.
And I wish you all the best. Take care.
Same here. I wish you health and peace, and
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you in October. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Thank you very much.
Okay, brother. Thank you, Greg.
We're going to close out tonight's interview with Peter Parcek with a track from his latest album, Mississippi Suitcase. This is The World is Upside Down.
Upside down. Oh, the world is upside down. Wrong is right, right is wrong. I believe my time is long. The wrong people got all the power, and they're running it into the ground. Yeah, the wrong people got all the power, and they're running it into the ground. But they don't care who they hurt. All in the city's the second coming or just some kind of sign? Is this the second coming or just some kind of sign? Is it tomorrow or just the end of time? Well, I'm going upstairs, gotta bring back down my clothes. Yeah, I'm going upstairs, got to bring back down my clothes. If anybody asks about me, you tell them I walked outdoors.